Good morning, Earth and Sky family. Welcome all of you to the great, beautiful up north. As you can see today, we're broadcasting from beautiful northern Michigan in the snowy depths of January. It's so perfect and beautiful. Some may say cold, but I think it's perfect and beautiful and amazing. And it really makes me so happy to feel like I'm up here with nature, with the trees. As I was finding just the right spot to do this for each of you, I was actually following the prints of deer, trying to see where the deer were walking and set up here essentially in their forest. So I hope you enjoy today's live talk. We're going to be talking about what makes you happy. Happiness is one of those topics that can sometimes seem elusive to people. Oftentimes people may feel like if I only had this, then I could be happy, or if I had that, then I could be happy. But that's not necessarily true. Often some common things people will say would be, if I only had more money, or if I only had these certain things, or if only I had this certain person in my life, then I could be happy. Well, guess what? There are a lot of people out there that have exactly what you're thinking that you need to be happy, and they're still not happy. So those things are not going to be what can come in and fill that for you to make you happy. Happiness really comes from within, but sometimes if you're searching for happiness and somebody says happiness comes from within, it can be a little bit irritating because you're thinking, if I could find it within, I'd be happy, right? Just like you're trying to find it without, but you're still looking for that happiness. So I want to talk today about what makes you happy. How can you find happiness? How can you learn to find your inner happiness, to draw the happy factor up within yourself so you can just really enjoy life every day and not feel like happiness is such an elusive thing, because it is really not something that can be filled from things from the outside. But so then how do you find out? How do you find out how to be happy? Happiness really comes from within, but the first step of that is knowing what you want. And I'm not talking about those external factors. I'm talking about knowing what you want in life, knowing what makes you tick inside, what gets your creative juices flowing, what makes you smile randomly in the middle of a day. Those are the things that will really work with helping bring up that happiness factor within you. This is one of the things that I sometimes work with my end-of-life doula, with my end-of-life consultants, because I am an end-of-life doula. And a lot of times when people realize they're facing something that is a terminal illness, or they're something that's coming up and they realize the end is near, then they're suddenly realizing all of those things they wish they had done, or the amends they wish they had made, and all of this list of things that sometimes doesn't really register, or it's in the back of your brain, but it's not something you feel like you have time to deal with, or that you want to deal with, or that you feel you can even give to yourself. Sometimes it comes to a matter of self-worth and feeling that you're worthy to enjoy the things. And but I'm really hoping to be able to motivate you before you need an end-of-life doula, or maybe you are in a situation where you are facing your end, and so you're thinking about some of these things already. Sometimes it becomes more clear as you know the end is coming, and one of the things that you can actually do is to think within yourself, okay, if I were going to die tomorrow, or if I were going to, let's say, give yourself 30 days. If I know I'm going to die in 30 days, what do I want to do? What do I want to make sure I've accomplished? Is there a certain mark you want to leave on this world, and you feel you can do a bit more of that in 30 days? When you give yourself some ways to frame your brain around it, it can help to make it a little bit easier to get the perspective that you need, so you can find that happiness, so it's no longer elusive, and you can find yourself living your joy every day. You can actually develop that within yourself and have years and years and years, hopefully, of living your joy every day, finding ways to laugh every day. So the first thing then, after you are realizing you're starting to figure out what you want, then you need to make a plan. And a best way to start making that plan is find a creative space where you can just clear your brain out and think. And sometimes it really helps to pull yourself out of your normal surroundings. If you feel like you're in a rut in life, then you probably don't want to try to come up with a plan while you're in your house and you feel like you're in a rut and you just can't quite get your brain focused on opening and expanding. And it might not be the best place to do it at your office or wherever you work. You might need to find somewhere that's totally new. Clear your brain and find a creative space where you can really learn to expand your thought process. Really dig out of your normal thoughts and expand. There is a whole vast universe out here awaiting you and waiting for you to jump on and really open that legacy within yourself. For me, it's the woods. I love the forest. I love the trees. It is not uncommon for me to go out and start hugging trees if I'm out in the middle of a forest. And my husband is finally getting a bit more used to that now. But if it's the woods that you like, then go out in nature. Don't feel like just because it's cold, you have to wait until summer and you're trying to kind of just make it through until you can get out into the woods. That's what sweaters and coats and gloves are for. Go out, get into the woods, get into nature where it's quiet. When you're starting to figure out what makes you happy and what you want to do in life, a big thing you need to do is pull away from everything that's going on around you typically and get out into a creative space. So it might be in the middle of the forest in the middle of winter. That's my favorite time to go because there really aren't a whole lot of people out here. I'm not sure why. Maybe it is the cold. But getting yourself out into that creative space, if it might be near water. For some people, the water is the part that's cleansing. And if you're in Michigan, you have a lake around every single corner, it seems like. So it's pretty easy for you to go find a lake, a river, a stream, something where you can have a big body of water around you. Maybe you're lucky enough to be along one of the coastlands. But find a way to get out into water, somewhere that you can be by yourself. It might even just simply be in your backyard. Don't feel like you have to make a plan and set time aside and that becomes a challenge where you can't get away. Find a corner in your backyard where you can just be alone for a while and have that creative space. If you're somebody who does not like being outside, perhaps you're someone who would rather be inside, then maybe you need to make a fire inside your home. Perhaps sitting at the kitchen table. If you don't feel like you are stuck in a rut in your house, then the kitchen table could be the perfect place. I think I just heard the racers going by. There's a snow rally this weekend up here, up in northern Michigan. But maybe it's being by the fire inside your home. There are different elements for everybody. And if you figure out what element of nature works best with you, that can also help you to really open up and get that process going within yourself. Perhaps it's fire. Fire represents passion and excitement, so maybe you need to go by a fire. If you need to cleanse your emotions and you feel like you just need to clear and release a lot, then it might be the water that you need to go by. If you want to just connect with the earth and you feel like you need a little bit more stability, security under your feet, then the earth is the best place to connect with, hence the forest that I really love. Or sometimes you might just need a breath of fresh air and you need that element of air. If you're looking for inspiration, for creativity, then air is the best element for you to start figuring out what makes you happy. Sometimes you can combine a lot of those in one setting, but the main point of that is find a space where you can clear your head, you can get the creative juices going, so you can really start making a plan to dig deep within yourself to find out what makes you happy. And then you need to allow yourself to daydream. Sometimes I'll ask in some of my classes how many people daydreamed as a child and maybe got in trouble in it for school. But now that you're an adult, you should definitely remember what it's like to daydream. Even if it seems like it's a far-fetched fantasy that you're coming up with, daydreaming is going to be a fantastic way for you to really figure out what it is that you like in life, what it is that makes you happy, what it is that you want, and you'll be able to pull elements from that daydream into your life that you can use in your everyday practice. Feeling what happiness is inside yourself, even if it's imagined. If you feel like happiness is so far off right now, it's not something that you can even understand or comprehend, or it just seems so far away, then think back to a time when you were really happy. Imagine what it feels like when you're wishing that you maybe had somebody else's life. Imagine that feeling and allow that feeling within to really overcome you. That's going to bring up the serotonin, the dopamine, and a host of other chemicals in the brain that will help to really bring up the factor of happiness so you can tap into it a bit easier, so you can create that happiness on an everyday level within your life. Sometimes if you're really stuck in depression, you have to imagine it first, and as you imagine it, then it starts to become real, and then you can develop it into an everyday practice within your life. So thinking about what you like would be the next step. A lot of times people think they want to be happy, but they really can't even put words to what that would be, or what they do like, what they do want in life. Sometimes the simple pleasures are the things you really need to focus on first. It's not, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's not about getting these big things or huge, massive investments in your life, or waiting for that special person to come in and just do exactly the right things. You need to take charge of it for yourself, and that can be just simple pleasures. Finding out what it is you like. If you like nature, or if you feel like you just need space in your life, maybe you feel like you're very overwhelmed with so much going on around you, then maybe you need to pull yourself away and give yourself 10 minutes of quiet in a beautiful setting. It might even be your backyard. It might be a park near your house. Give yourself time and space to breathe is the first step if you feel like you're overwhelmed. And if you feel like you're really lonely, then maybe you need to go out and call somebody. Be bold, find courage within yourself, and put yourself into situations where you start to interact and engage with people more, and really recognize each of the successes that you have in life. Those simple pleasures can be a really huge step into creating long-lasting happiness in your life. And you need to learn to love yourself where you are, who you are, what you are, not feeling like you would accept yourself more if you this or if you that, then you would love yourself. No, you need to love yourself exactly where you are, for who you are. You are somebody who has a story. Everyone in life has a story, and you can be the author of that script. Don't feel like the story happens to you. Don't allow yourself to become a victim. Instead, take that pen in your hand, write your story. Know that each of those things that may have been challenges or hard things for you in life, those are things that you've overcome because you're still standing, you're still here. And really embrace the strength that you have built up in your life, and recognize each of those successes that you've had in your life as well, bringing that joy up within yourself. Love yourself, who you are, where you are, regardless of what's going on. And as you learn to love yourself, you're going to start being better to yourself, treating yourself better, eating the right things, drinking water, taking yourself on walks when you need to take yourself on a walk, but really learning to love yourself. And then decide what you don't want anymore, because when you're trying to bring happiness in, and when you're learning to up that factor of joy within yourself, you need to recognize what's holding you back in life too. What weight do you need to let go of? What burdens do you have that it's time to let go of? Sometimes there are certain things in our life that may be just too much, or even certain people that we need to have some safe boundaries with. I know I can't think of her name right now, but she's a wonderful person that helps people get organized within themselves, and has these special techniques for making you love your closet again. And one of the things she says is, if you have too much of something, even if it's good things that you enjoy, you like all of those things that are in your closet, if there's too many, then it becomes an unpleasant experience when you get up in the morning and you're trying to figure out what to wear, because there are too many choices. It becomes a burden, and so you need to clear that out. You need to clear space. Sometimes it's things that you really don't want anymore, and sometimes it's things that you feel like you like, but if there's too much of a good thing, then it's drawing you down, and it's making it a bit too much of a hassle to try to figure it out. So figure out what you don't want anymore. what you don't need anymore. Maybe there are things that you can clear out to create space within your life that you can bless forward to others and bring some joy to them and enjoy that happiness of making others happy as you pass those things on to them. But figuring out how you can create space, because a big thing that people have when they're depressed or overwhelmed is you feel like you're under this crushing weight of the world. And so figure out how you can create space within your life. As you create that space, then you'll have room to bring in more joy, to create the happiness within yourself. So when you clear space, you're not just clearing space physically, you're clearing space emotionally, mentally. You're creating room for joy within yourself. If you find yourself constantly going through battles where you have an emotional weight within yourself, maybe you're somebody who thinks a bit too much and starts to get a little too overwhelmed with your thoughts. Maybe that would be a good time to clear space emotionally. So instead of continuing to wander down a road where you're overwhelmed with your thoughts, stop the thought cycle, pick up a book or go for a walk or do something where you're changing what you're physically doing so it switches that part in your brain, so you're no longer allowing that negativity or the depression to sink in. Instead, you're causing a physical change so the joy factor can start to flow in. Put yourself in the driver's seat of your life for joy. Don't wait for anybody to give it to you. When you start recognizing that challenges, hurdles, and things that may feel like a weight are actually just challenges for you to overcome that will bring you into spaces of more joy, or you start recognizing that you can put up safe boundaries when you need to put up certain boundaries for people, or you need to let go of or clear things, or you realize there's something you've just wanted so much. What have you been waiting for? Go out and get it. Create it. Do what you need to do to bring it in. Put yourself in the driver's seat, and then you're able to put yourself in the driver's seat, steering yourself towards joy. And as I just mentioned, I just touched on safe boundaries. That's another important thing. Sometimes you need to have safe boundaries, even with people that you love, that you want to have in your life. You might have to have certain boundaries of what you allow in, where you stop certain conversations, how much time you spend with certain people, if it feels like they weigh you down. Having safe boundaries, outlining that within yourself, naming it, defining it within yourself so it's no longer elusive, and that's going to help stop that cycle where you're holding yourself back so you can open and welcome in more joy. Never dull your light for others is my next point. It goes right from safe boundaries into always recognize that that light, that joy, that spark that is within you, the personality that is who you are, never dull that for other people. I have met people, I've even done it myself sometimes, where I would be around certain people and I felt like I had to dim myself a little bit because I didn't want to upset someone else, or I didn't want them to feel a certain way. And I found that as I was doing that, I was truly dimming my own joy. Never dim your light for other people. Those that are around you should embrace you and accept you and love you for who you are. As you learn to love yourself for who you are and what you are, you'll start recognizing that you deserve that from other people, to be loved for who you are and what you are, and never dull your light for anybody else. Never listen if someone says you can't. That's one of the quickest ways to hold yourself back from the joy that you deserve. Know that everything is possible. Whatever you want to create in life, it is possible. And if somebody says you can't do that, you don't have the resources, you don't have the ability, you don't have the connections, or whatever they say, don't listen to that. Put that out of your brain. You might even write, if you have some tapes that play in your head, you might even write those down and burn them and allow those thoughts to go away. Sometimes our self-thoughts can be even worse than the thoughts that other people put on us. So if you have things where you are telling yourself you can't, or you don't, or whatever it is, write it down, put it into a fire, and release that thought. Feel the freedom that comes as you create that space within yourself, and you know that you can. Sometimes it's about just finding the right way. Sometimes it's about creating the space, recognizing the things that you have, starting up your gratitude within yourself, having a gratitude journal, because what you focus on is what you will attract. So if you have a lot of thoughts saying you can't, or you don't have, or whatever, then those thoughts are continuing to multiply, which is what you're seeing in your life. So burn that, release that. Whenever anybody tells you can't do something, let them know you can. Or you can just leave the conversation and remind yourself that you can. You can do anything. Everything is possible. You just have to set your mind to it. Allow yourself to start with some of the smaller successes first. Build your way up and know that you really can. I believe in you. I know you can. And I'm so excited for that joy to be flowing over you and opening up within your life. So reach for the simple joys. Sometimes it's, as I mentioned, just going out into the forest, smelling the fresh air. Maybe it's taking 20 minutes to go out to a lake and just spending time. Put your toes in the water when it's maybe a little bit warmer. Or allow that rush, that cold chill of cold water to rush over you and really wake you up. Part of the thing that people get stuck in is they get dulled down in life. They let their senses dull down and they need to be awakened. When you're awake in life, that's when you're stepping into your full power. Don't walk through life half asleep. Allow yourself to wake up. Reach for those simple joys, recognize the simple joys that happen. And then with each of these steps we've been talking about, set a plan so you can name it. You need to be able to know what makes you happy inside. Recognize those simple everyday things that can sometimes make you laugh. Set your plan for yourself, create your creative space, set your plan, and then be flexible to changes in that plan, because every plan that happens is probably going to have some things where you have to turn one way or you switch to another way. So have some flexibility. Know that even though things don't go exactly according to the plan that you spent this time creating, that's okay, because the universe sometimes has an even better plan for us. But knowing what makes you happy, knowing what you want to create within yourself, is the first step to letting the universe know what you're looking for in life and telling yourself, so that can open up within yourself and then be flexible to those changes that will happen. And laugh every single day. I know that sometimes people have asked me how I got through that long illness I had. I was basically close to bedridden for about 8 years. I lost the ability to communicate for certain parts of that. I wasn't able to drive. I had so many limitations physically that had come down on me, and it really did a lot where I had a hard time focusing. But I found no matter what was going on, no matter how dark that got, I laughed every day, and that would lift things up. Because what's the alternative? Being upset or being frustrated or feeling overwhelmed like you're not in the driver's seat anymore. Even when I was going through that with that illness, even though I had a lot of limitations physically, my pain level was way off the charts, which is why I lost the ability to communicate. Everything sounded like static when people would talk because my pain was so high. Yet regardless of that, I still found ways to laugh. I found ways to look at some of the simple joys that would go on. Sometimes my cats would make me laugh more than anything. If you don't have a cat, adopt a cat or watch funny cat videos. Those are good ways to get you to laugh, because as you laugh, the serotonin, the dopamine, norepinephrine, all of that stuff opens up within the brain and you're able to find your joy again. When things go wrong, still laugh. Sometimes the best way to get over something that feels like it's fallen off of your plan is to laugh about it and then start to set a new plan or figure out what changes you need to make to your plan. Laughter is great medicine. If you feel like you are struggling and so far from joy you have nothing to laugh about, then fake it. Make yourself laugh, because laughter is contagious. So after you laugh for a couple minutes, you're going to start laughing at how silly you sound, and it's going to make you start laughing for real. Having a gratitude journal, I mentioned that briefly, is so important, because what you focus on is what you attract. I bought a calendar this year, a daily planner calendar that is specifically just for my gratitude journal. So every day I write certain things that I'm grateful for, something that made me laugh that day, something that made me really happy, something that worked out. Maybe it's a kindness that I saw somebody do for somebody else. It varies so dramatically, but it's something that I'm grateful for. So find a way to start writing that down. The one that I chose actually has a limited amount of space each day because I've done it before where I had an empty notebook and I found myself writing a lot longer than I had anticipated, which can be a great thing too, but do what works for you. This year I wanted to make it very short and concise, so you can find ways to do whatever works for you with that, but have your gratitude journal. Really know, and be able to name what makes you happy, and have it be things that are internal, things that you can drive yourself to your joy with. I hope this has helped give you some insights and some thoughts. And remembering to imagine the feeling of happiness, daydream. Sometimes it takes daydreaming and going into far off lands within your thought process of figuring out what makes you happy to really start to nail down and figure out what it is you want to do with this life. This life is so short when it comes down to it. I think working with the dying really drives home so much to me how truly short this life is. Know that you have a limited window to make this life what you want it to be. So allow yourself to become in the driver's seat of your life. Think of what you want. Create it, run with it. Know that I believe in you, and I also really appreciate those likes and the shares on our Facebook videos as well as our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe to us. You can go to youtube.com/Earth and Sky Center now that we have named our channel, and we love it when you share our videos out with everyone. Please let us know if you want to be added to our newsletter. We have just recently started up a newsletter, so our classes are lined up. We can send that out for the next 6 months of classes that we have scheduled, and I would love to see each and every one of you who are interested in our center. If you're wanting to come to any of our classes, I do also travel. If you're in another state, feel free to contact me and we'll work out how you want me to come out and teach to people in your area. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day, everyone.